Now everybody has been screaming about the conditions of these centers under the Trump administration. But there is a different story. And the truth is, we have held migrants in horrible conditions for decades. This is not a Trump administration problem. This is an America problem. And it's about damn time we notice it and address it, because it's been bad since the 70s. It's been really bad for a really long time. In fact, in the 70s and 80s, do you know where we held migrants who were seeking asylum in the United States? What do you think we did with all of those Haitians and Cubans? I'll let you think about it for a second. Do you think that we just opened our doors and welcomed them with open arms and said, here you go, everything is now going to be great? No, guys, we held them at Guantanamo Bay. Yeah, Guantanamo Bay, where they didn't even have the rights of an American. At least if you're on U.S. soil, you have the rights of people on U.S. soil. But we held them at Guantanamo Bay, and we held them for long periods of time, to the point where they rioted, they were angry. It was really bad. They suffered terrible conditions. In fact, the conditions were considered so bad for the migrants throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s that is why Donald Rumsfeld thought, hey, this is a good place to hold terrorists. That's how bad it was. And that is the truth of how we've been holding migrants in this country. Under the Obama administration, the migrants that were held, the stories that you can read, the news stories from 2009, 2010, 2012, 2014, you go on throughout the Obama administration, reads like the Trump administration. Let me just give you some examples of this. For example, inside the immigration ice box, an unaccompanied child migrant from Honduras speaks out about freezing in a holding cell. That was from July of 2014. Read these kids' horrifying tales of abuse in U.S. detention facilities, insults, sexual abuse by adult inmates, and having to drink toilet water are just a few of the complaints. This was written in July of 2014. Here's another one for you. U.S. deaths in immigration detention. Newly released records suggest dangerous lapses in medical care. This was written again in 2016, July of 2016. I know an American internment camp when I see one. This was written in May of 2015, talking about the detention conditions. That was from the ACLU. Here's another one. Obama's immigration raids are turning Latino communities into ghost towns. This was January of 2016. U.S. placed immigrant children with traffickers, report says. It says here the Department of Health and Human Services placed more than a dozen immigrant children in the custody of human traffickers after it failed to conduct background checks of caregivers, according to a Senate report released on Thursday. That was January of 2016. I could go on and on and on. U.S. says deportation of Honduran children, a warning to illegal migrants. So people think, oh no, but the difference is Trump is using these terrible detention centers and these terrible conditions as a deterrent. No, that was Obama. He was doing that as well. Here it is, Reuters reporting. The White House said on Tuesday that Central Americans trying to cross the U.S. border should know, quote, they will not be welcome to this country. A day after the United States deported a plane load of women and children back to Honduras. A charter flight on Monday from New Mexico to San Pedro Sula, the city with the highest murder rate in the world, transported 17 Honduran women, as well as 12 girls and 9 boys between the ages of 18 months and 15 years. White House spokesman John Earnest said the return of the Hondurans should be a clear signal to those thinking about crossing the border illegally that, quote, they're entitled to due process, but they will not be welcome to this country with open arms. That was July of 2014. So, look, the detention centers have been terrible. There are reports of kids during the Obama administration lying on the ground with blankets. Here's a photograph of it. This was from the Obama administration. You can see it here for yourself. I mean, look, this has just been bad for a long time. And kids detained for, here it says, 2 consecutive Christmases. That's how long these kids were in the detention center, and saying that the only thing these kids are asking for their Christmas wish is freedom. during the Obama administration. These read like headlines you would read today in the Trump administration. So this is a showcasing of this being an America problem. And this is not a Trump administration issue. This is an American issue. We have held migrants in horrid conditions, including Gitmo, since the 70s. And now we're talking about using Gitmo again for housing kids, which, like I said, the military is not necessarily a bad place to put migrants under military care. Like I said, they have the infrastructure. They've got they can quickly set up camps. I mean, they're pretty well equipped with this stuff. But this, guys, this has been going on for a really, really long time. And it is about time that finally people start paying attention. And the only good thing about this, about Trump and this administration, is the fact that people are now seeing that these are the conditions that migrants have been suffering under when they try to seek asylum into this country for decades. For decades. That administration after administration after administration, we have treated migrants coming to this country like this. We put them in horrible conditions. We have treated them inhumanely. They have suffered. It's been bad for decades. This is not new. Now, sure, some of the things that Trump has done has ramped up, but not by a lot. It's just been slight rampings. And, Obama did rampings above Bush. There were things that Bush did that Obama actually increased by thousands of percentage. The programs of deportation, and it ramped up under Obama. It's ramping up under Trump. We do have a immigration problem in this country. We haven't had solid immigration reform since 1986. Was the last time we addressed immigration in this country. It is about damn time we do something about our immigration laws. It is about damn time we make them very clear, that we have serious, comprehensive immigration reform. And you see that every time Trump does one of these ridiculous antics, he often mentions that he thinks that maybe this will make Congress actually do something. And, I don't know. Congress hasn't done anything about this since the 80s. And I've lost faith in Congress completely as a branch of government. I think they're the most ineffective branch of government. They don't ever get anything done. All they do is try to score political points by pandering to their base, by pointing fingers at each other and claiming the other one's an evil monster. And meanwhile, they're all just raking in money hand over fist from they're the most bought out branch of government. They're the ones taking in all the money. And because of it, they don't do shit. And it's awful. And here we are with this migration detention center crisis that has been going on for decades that people are just now finally paying attention to. So, Congress, when are you going to actually do something? One of the biggest problems is there are some great people in Congress, but they can't actually get legislation through because every time they propose something, the leadership in either the House or the Senate decides not to allow the bill to advance. They don't advance it through committees, or they don't actually put it to the floor for a vote. We have a very dysfunctional Congress. And what Congress does is that they both sides do this. I know I'm both sides in the issue, guys, but it is. They sit there and they point fingers at whoever's president, whether it be Republicans pointing at Obama or Democrats pointing at Trump, and they point at the president and they say it's all their fault. And the reality is that they've got the American people gaslighted into forgetting that Congress is an equal branch of government, equal and separate from the presidency. They have a lot of power, and they don't do anything with it because they are bought, because they have their pocketbooks lined with their donors, and the best thing for them to do is to just continue pointing fingers and race baiting and making everybody moral baiting. Oh, you're a baby killer. Well, you're a racist. They go on and on and on about this stuff, and they keep us fighting, and they keep us at each other's throats because they don't actually want to do anything. It's better for them to just say, you know what? We'll point at the president, make it all his fault, and continue to do nothing about the problem. And that's okay. We'll just keep winning elections. That's the way this is going to work. And meanwhile, real people suffer. They suffer in these detention centers. They suffer because we don't have comprehensive immigration reform. We've got DACA kids that are used as ploys over and over and over again. Constantly. They're used as little pawns in a political game. Nobody seems to care. We got to save the DACA kids, save the DACA kids. And then what are we doing about the DACA kids? We haven't done anything. So, legislation kind of gets introduced here and there, but then it never advances. This is the problem. It is, I think, Congress's fault. They're the ones who make the laws. The administration then goes in and enforces those laws. If Congress doesn't like the way that the administration is enforcing those laws, then they need to change those laws. That's their job. But they don't do their job. They act like they're just powerless. And, the big bad boogeyman sitting in the White House is doing all these evil things. But no, they're an equal branch of government. But they're absolutely ineffective. Okay, I wasn't able to get to, I need to move on and shut this video down. And so in the next video, we're going to talk about the new policy that Trump has proposed today, which is blocking all asylum seekers at the U.S.-Mexico border. I'm going to talk about that next. Can he do that? That is coming up.